Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to touch upon a very important and interesting topic that you also have to study in the syllabus of world history as far as UPSC Civil Service examination is concerned. So in this particular video we are going to discuss about two major ideologies. The economic ideology we can say, the one is capitalism and on the other opposite end we have the socialism. So we are going to discuss what is the arguments given by the proponent of both capitalism and socialism, and also what is the wide ranging debate that goes on and that has been going on since quite a few hundred years as far as the domain of this economic ideology is concerned. So first of all, let us try to understand what is socialism and capitalism in brief detail. So these are nothing but two main economic systems that is used by different countries at different point of history in the time. Socialism is basically, it refers to an economic and political system under which we can say broadly the means of production are owned by public. Owned by public means it is every person or every individual of that particular country, that particular state have equal right over the resources. The production and as far as the consumer prices are concerned, they are mainly controlled by the government, and it is ensured that the needs of people are best met by such decisions of the government. On the other hand, if we talk about capitalism, it refers to such an economic system where the means of production are owned by private entity, owned by the individual, and production and consumer prices are also basically left open to be decided by free market system of supply and demand. That means simply if supply of any commodity is higher than demand, the prices will come down. If the supply of any commodity is lower than its demand, then prices obviously will go up. So this is the whole system, the basic system on which the capitalism rests upon. So let us first try to understand the history of both the systems, capitalism and socialism. So many people, many experts believe that the origin of capitalism can trace back to Scottish academician Adam Smith, who published a seminal book that is known by the name of The Wealth of Nations. However, before Adam Smith also, the capitalism can be traced back in somewhere between 16th to 18th century England, when industrial revolution basically began, and we see a large scale migration of people from village area, rural areas to urban areas to work as an industrial worker, to work in the industries. And thus overall, if we talk about the capitalism, that what happened as a result of industrial revolution, the accumulated profit that was made by the industries, that are made by the manufacturing factories, were again reinvested so that the productivity can increase, and this is overall the essence of capitalism is all about. On the other hand, if we try to understand the history of socialism, socialism can be traced back to in modern times, we basically have this habit of associating socialism with Karl Marx, but socialism goes the ideology goes as far back as the Roman Empire, when there was a Christian monastic enclaves. Not only that, even we can trace the essence of socialism or ideology of socialism in the books that has been published long ago from Karl Marx books. That is the Republic by Plato, Utopia by Sir Thomas More, and Social Destiny of Man by Charles Fourier. Then in the modern time, obviously in the 18th, 19th century, it is the German philosopher and economic critic Karl Marx along with Friedrich Engels. They have given the framework of the socialism, which is largely followed by whichever country is following or taking socialism as their policies. So what is the major differences between capitalism and socialism? So major differences we can understand on total five major parameters or six major parameters. The first is regarding the ownership of assets. As discussed, as far as the capitalism is concerned, the means of production is owned by private individual. On the other hand, in the system of socialism, means of production is owned either by the government or the cooperatives. Cooperatives are basically a cooperatives is a institution made by the cooperation of different individuals. Second is the income inequality or income equality, we can say. Here, the income of any individual is determined by the free market forces, while in the socialist system, whatever income is being generated by the state is equally distributed according to the need of the people. Third is consumer prices. Consumer prices in the capitalist system is determined by the forces of supply and demand. On the other hand, in the socialist system, the prices are basically set by the government. The fourth difference is in the terms of efficiency and innovation. As far as these efficiency and innovation is concerned, in the capitalist system, it is the free market competition that encourages efficiency and innovation. The reason is very simple, because if it is a free market, that means people have choices, and if people have choices, and if your product, if you are making, is not up to standard, or someone is able to give them the similar kind of product at much lesser prices, obviously people will go and prefer such products. So that is why you always have to be very much efficient, and always you have to take part in innovation, so that the cost of manufacturing, so that the profit margins, and also the demand and the aspirations of people in general can be fulfilled. On the other hand, in the social system, since most of the businesses, or almost all the businesses, we can say, is owned by the government, they have less incentive for efficiency and innovation, because they know that people do not have any option. It does not matter what kind of product I'm selling, people will go and buy this because they do not have any alternative products to buy. So next point is the difference in the system of healthcare. In capitalist system, basically what we see all across the world, healthcare is largely provided by the private sector, and thus they are obviously under some kind of control. They are able to fix the prices for the healthcare services as well as the healthcare products. On the other hand, in the government, which is following socialist system, healthcare is generally provided for the free or subsidized by the government. For example, in the Scandinavian countries, or earlier countries belonging to Soviet Union and Russia as of now, there the healthcare is totally free because they follow the system of socialism. The next difference is in terms of taxation. In the system of capitalism, there is limited taxes based on individual income. As your income increases, the proportion of taxes, or the ratio of taxes that will pay to the government, also will increase. On the other hand, if we talk about socialism, there is a high taxes which is necessarily to be paid by the people for the public services. So these are the six major parameters on which we have understood the major differences between the two systems, capitalism and socialism. Now let us try to understand what basically is the debate and criticism regarding to each of the system. So the first parameter, as we have discussed, is the ownership and income equality. So what is the debate around this? So what we can say, that the ensures the natural right of people to control their own affairs. That is a system, or that is what is said about the capitalism. Second, as capitalism is dependent on the private sector, it says that we have most efficient use of resources is only possible by a private sector by methods of innovation. The government sector cannot efficiently use the resources, and that is the second benefit, or second point of we can say divergence of capitalism. Third is, since capitalism also depends on principles of borrowing and investment, due to the continuous borrowing and investment, there is a scope for huge economic growth, and that is why we can see the rate of growth of capitalist countries in the past also has been much more greater, or much more higher, as compared to the socialist country. If you take example of India itself, in the beginning of its years after independence, at least till Jawaharlal Nehru was our prime minister, he followed a socialistic, or we can say mixed principle of governance, mixed principle of economic system. And due to this, what is called as, in the early years of India's growth, it was very slow, somewhere between 3 to 4%. That is also referred as Hindu rate of growth. So that was basically because we are adopting, or we are following the principle of socialism. Once in 1991, as we opened up our economy, we followed the principles of capitalism. We ushered in the era of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, and this has led to a rapid increase in the economic growth. So that is something that we can also see from our example as well. The As far as the socialists are concerned, they says that though the ownership and income inequality, and there are some advantages of capitalist system, largely what happens, due to the ownership of private property, a few wealthy people are able to acquire most of the property. Now this also seems to be correct, because as per the recent research, or recent paper published by Thomas Piketty, he has clearly said that top 1% of the world's total population holds more than 30-40% of the world's total wealth. So obviously, few wealthy people are able to acquire most of the property in the capitalistic system. That is one criticism. Second, since there is this kind of equality, the income inequality in the end ends up hurting the whole society, because there is a lot of grievances among the society members, and there is a lot of inequality among the society. And that is why it is the government's responsibility that they should launch a program so that it benefits all the people irrespective of their social status. And that is why socialism should be preferred. So we have discussed, as far as the ownership and income equality is concerned, what is the viewpoint of both socialist and capitalist. Now coming to the next topic, or next debate, is with regards to the consumer prices. So in this regard, capitalism says that, in the we can say the disadvantage of capitalism is there is a monopoly, and monopolies can be used to exploit the power. Second, there is also dissatisfaction among the masses because consumer prices can vary significantly. For example, we take in recent times due to the geopolitical changes, difficulties that the world is facing since February due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we have seen a sharp increase in the crude oil prices, gas prices, and that also has been reflected upon the prices of the consumer durables as well as essential items. So that is one negative side of capitalism. On the other hand, as far as the socialism is concerned, the capitalists blame that if you follow the socialistic principle, if you follow the consumer prices being set by the government, in that case there will be shortages of certain products, and on the other hand we might have surpluses of certain products which is not required. That also can cause dissatisfaction among the masses. Not only that, we also have seen examples where the socialistic system have underwent the era of hyperinflation, where prices have risen very significantly, very suddenly, and due to this there also has been deterioration in the health condition. The best example is the Venezuela, the Soviet Union. When it was disintegrating at that time, both of these countries have suffered severe bout of hyperinflation, and in a one single night the value of the wealth or the value of the money the people were holding fell down by almost 40 to 50%. So that is something that we have to understand is the bad aspect of socialism. The third debate basically focuses upon or around efficiency and innovation. So as in the capitalist system, as we know, that individual have a profit incentive. If you are able to make much better product, if you are able to make much higher quality of product, obviously the profit incentive will be higher and you're able to collect more and more amount of money and wealth. And that is why capitalists say that their system focuses upon or basically promotes creative destruction, where bad firms, where the uneconomical firms, where the inefficient firms basically are driven out of the market, and most efficient one, most innovative ones are the one who stay in the market. And that is why the creative destruction is a very good part of capitalism. On the other hand, as far as socialism is concerned, the proponent says that socialism prevents business failures and monopolies. As we have seen in the case of 2008 financial crisis, most of the capitalistic world suffered huge catastrophic losses as far as the economy is concerned because of the subprime mortgage crisis. So that is something that cannot be observed in the socialism. Also, socialism proponents say that the system is best able to meet the needs of the people by providing them with sufficient opportunities, by providing them sufficient essential goods and items. The fourth aspect of discussion is around healthcare and taxation. As far as the capitalism is concerned, there are inefficiencies and delays, and also there is a high government taxes as well as high government expenses. So due to this, what happened? The healthcare of people, especially the people who are on the lower margins of the social strata, suffers a lot as they are not able to afford healthcare, especially if they are suffering from some diseases which required continuous caring. For example, in USA, there is no universal healthcare. In India, we do not have any universal healthcare, and that is why for treatment of serious and critical diseases, we have to depend upon the private hospital, which charges exorbitant rate of exorbitant rate from the people, from the we can say sick people, and from the patient, and due to this there is large scale problem that we see in the area of healthcare. Second, socialism says that providing healthcare and basic health facilities should not be left out to the individuals. It should be the moral responsibility of the state, and having good health is not something that can be bestowed upon by someone on the state. It is a natural right of every human being just because they are human being, and since it is a natural right, you cannot charge anything for providing natural right, and that is why it should be free. So this is the two different systems, capitalism and socialism, and how they think about as far as the healthcare and taxation is concerned. So which countries in the today's world can be considered as a capitalist country and which countries can be socialist country? So in real sense, there is no pure capitalist country and no pure socialist countries. Largely, most of countries can be said to be heavily leading toward one or other ideology, or best they can be said to have adopted the best practices and thus has become a kind of mixed economy. For example, the Scandinavian countries such as Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, they are the best example of mixed economic system, a mixed system, because they have adopted the socialistic principle of providing free healthcare, providing free education to its citizens. At the same time, they also imposes high rate from the people who are earning it. Not only that, they also are giving unemployment allowances. They are also giving pensions to the people who cannot work anymore or any longer. So in these areas, these countries have followed the principle of socialism. On the other hand, they also have a free market economy where they also have the individual property or the individual wealth. They also have we can say that prices of the commodities are basically determined by the forces of supply and demand. So in this context, this country have a capitalistic system. On the other hand, the countries which are said to be mainly socialist in nature today, these countries are Cuba, China, Vietnam, Russia, and North Korea. Most of these countries except Russia, of course, follow not only the principle of socialism, but also they follow the principle of communism as far as the setup of their government is concerned. So these countries can be said to be mainly socialist or communist countries. The countries which can be called as mainly capitalist again are the countries where the government control on the supply and demand of commodities, where the government control on setting up prices, where the government control on the functioning and running of any business or industry is very minimal. And such countries can be simple: US, UK, countries of West Europe such as Germany, France, Poland, and Australia in the Oceania. You have Japan in the Asia. So these countries can be called as a purely or mainly capitalist country. As far as India is concerned, we have a historical progress, that is after independence we are basically or mainly leaning on socialism, but after 1991 we have changed our path and now we are going at a much faster rate and are adopting and embracing the ideology of capitalism. So India is transitioning from socialist country or socialist country to a capitalist country. So we are in the phase of transition. So this is all about as far as the today's countries and the distribution of the systems all over the globe is concerned. So what we can say basically about capitalism, that though in the modern time it has been categorized or it has been declared as the world's predominant economic system, it has been criticized for several reasons throughout the history. So what are the reasons on which the criticism of capitalism is based upon? So these include the unpredictable and unstable nature of capitalist growth, because you know that today obviously our GDP growth rate might be 10%, 12%, 14%, but we cannot guarantee that it always remains so. Maybe in 2-3 years from now it can even fall back down to 6%, 7%, 5% as well. So the growth that happens in capitalistic system is unpredictable in nature, and also it is very very unstable in the nature. Second, there are several social harms that are associated with capitalism. Such social harms are pollution, because when we focus more upon the economic growth, basically what you can say, forget about the environment, and that we can see today we have several such environmental issues that is we can say corrupting our world, such as global warming is there, sea level rise is there. All this can be said to be a direct result of industrialization and the nature of doing business, which is mostly we can say selfish in nature, and that is why that is the other one social harm. Second social harm is that there is exploitation of large degree in the capitalistic system, because the focus is not upon provision of the basic services and the production of essential good. The focus also is upon increasing more or garnering more and more profit by setting up industries and manufacturing plants. So there is abusive treatment or ill treatment of the workers. Second, there is a large scale economic disparity that we see, such as income inequality, as we have discussed in case of India, in case of world, a few percentage of top population, a few percentage of population of these places have a control over large access or control over the large wealth. So these are some of the major factors on which capitalism, despite being the most predominant economic system today, is criticized. So that is all for this particular issue. I hope you understood that what is the major differences between socialism and capitalism, what are the points of debate and arguments, and why none of the systems can be said to be perfect, because we have seen the failure of both the systems in our history. In 1991, when the USSR collapsed, we can say that it was a failure of socialism. And in 2008, when there was a economic crisis, in 1930 also, when we have Great Depression, these can be considered as a failure of capitalism. However, we have not been able to devise any perfect system as of now, and that is why we have basically to make sure that we are taking good from both the system, and that is how we should try to run our government. That's why how we should try to run our country and state. So that is all for this particular video. If you like it, please like, share and subscribe. That is all for today. Thank you very much.